It's easy to see the trophies and the glory, but the tragic life of Larry Robinson is a lot more than it seems. After 17 seasons in Montreal, hockey's Big Bird made a decision that haunts him to this day. He left the only team he ever wanted to play for, chasing money to Los Angeles. But at almost 75 years old, Robinson has found peace in a role that keeps him connected to the game he loves. This is the story of how a farm boy from Ontario became hockey royalty, suffered through regret, and built a legacy that spans 5 decades. Larry Clark Robinson was born on June 2, 1951 in Winchester, Ontario. He grew up on a dairy farm in Marvelville, living the classic Canadian hockey dream. Like so many kids, he started playing junior hockey, first with the Brockville Braves and later the Kitchener Rangers. But here's where his story takes an interesting turn. Robinson didn't start as a defenseman. He was a forward who got converted to defense during his junior career. That change would define everything that came next. In 1971, the Montreal Canadiens selected Robinson 20th overall in the NHL draft. Not exactly a marquee pick, especially compared to their first overall selection that same year, Guy Lafleur. Robinson wasn't considered a top prospect by most scouts. Instead of jumping straight to the NHL, he spent 2 seasons with Montreal's minor league team, the Nova Scotia Voyageurs. Those 2 years were crucial. He won a Calder Cup with the team in 1972 and developed the skills that would make him a legend. When Robinson finally made his NHL debut on January 8, 1973, he announced his arrival in typical fashion. On his very first shift, he flattened veteran forward Bobby Nevin into the boards. The message was clear. Big Bird had arrived. That nickname stuck because of his unique combination of size and style. Standing 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighing 225 pounds, Robinson had distinctive blonde hair and a powerful skating stride that looked awkward but generated incredible momentum on the rush. His physical presence became legendary around the league. During the 1976 Stanley Cup Final, Robinson delivered a hit on Flyers forward Gary Dornhoefer that was so forceful it actually dislodged the sideboards. Stories like this spread throughout hockey, building Robinson's reputation as someone you didn't want to mess with. But he wasn't just a big hitter. Robinson could play offense too, and his combination of size, skill, and intimidation made him unlike any defenseman the league had seen. Over 17 seasons in Montreal, Robinson became the anchor of one of hockey's greatest dynasties. He was part of the famous Big Three defense corps alongside Hall of Famers Serge Savard and Guy Lapointe. Together, they formed an unbreakable foundation that helped the Canadiens win 6 Stanley Cup championships, including 4 straight from 1976 to 1979. Robinson's teammate and goaltender Ken Dryden once wrote about the psychological impact Robinson had on games. According to Dryden, when Robinson stepped on the ice, the entire attitude changed. Opposing teams, especially physical ones like the Philadelphia Flyers and Boston Bruins, would become more restrained and respectful. Some teams would completely abandon their aggressive style of play just because Robinson was out there. This mental dominance was almost as valuable as his physical skills. The numbers back up Robinson's greatness. He won the Norris Trophy as the league's best defenseman twice, in 1977 and 1980. In 1978, he won the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP, a rare honor for a defenseman. During his career, he scored 208 goals and 750 assists for 958 points. But his most impressive stat might be his plus-minus rating of plus 730, an NHL record that still stands today. In the 1976-77 season alone, he posted a plus 120, making him one of only 3 players in history to reach plus 100 in a single season, alongside Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky. Robinson also holds the NHL record for most consecutive playoff appearances with 20 seasons, a record he shares with Nicklas Lidstrom. For 2 decades straight, every spring meant playoff hockey for Big Bird. But in 1989, everything changed. After 17 seasons with the Canadiens, Robinson faced a difficult decision. Montreal's general manager, his former teammate Serge Savard, offered him a 1-year contract for $500,000. It seemed reasonable for a veteran defenseman in his late 30s. Then the Los Angeles Kings came calling with what Robinson himself called a crazy offer: 3 years and $1.5 million guaranteed. The Kings had just acquired Wayne Gretzky and were spending big money to build a winner. Owner Bruce McNall was throwing cash around, and Robinson was a target. Savard wasn't willing to match that kind of money for an aging defenseman, and honestly, it was hard to blame him. Montreal was transitioning to younger players. Robinson took the money and headed west, but he never felt good about it. In his autobiography, he expressed deep regret about not finishing his career where it started. He wanted to be one of those players who spent his entire career with one team, but the business side of hockey made that impossible. He held no hard feelings towards Savard or Montreal. He understood it was just business. But the regret was real. His 3 seasons in Los Angeles were fine, but unremarkable. The Kings made the playoffs just once during his time there, and Robinson's best days were clearly behind him. When he retired in 1992, many people thought that was the end of his hockey story. They were wrong. In 1993, just 1 year after retirement, Robinson joined the New Jersey Devils as an assistant coach. 2 years later, he won his 7th Stanley Cup, this time from behind the bench. That same year, 1995, he was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Not a bad year. His success as an assistant led to a head coaching opportunity back in Los Angeles in 1995. Robinson spent 4 seasons coaching the Kings, but the results were disappointing. The team missed the playoffs in 3 of those 4 years. The official story says he was fired at the end of the 1999 season due to poor performance, but the reality was more complicated. Robinson had actually turned down a 3-year contract extension in September 1998. His departure was more about disagreements with management than simply getting canned. Robinson returned to New Jersey as an assistant coach, and that's where he experienced what he called his greatest day in hockey. When the Devils fired their head coach mid-season in March 2000, Robinson was named interim head coach. He guided the team to a Stanley Cup victory, becoming the first interim head coach in NHL history to win it all. This was his 8th championship and his first as a head coach. The Devils liked what they saw and made Robinson the permanent head coach, but the pressure of the job took its toll. After another stint as head coach in 2005, Robinson resigned in December, citing stress and health problems. He was honest about the demands of coaching at the highest level and chose his well-being over his career. Robinson didn't leave hockey entirely, though. He transitioned into less stressful roles: assistant coach, special assignment coach, and eventually director of player development. These positions allowed him to stay connected to the game while teaching the next generation of players. He became a mentor to stars like Scott Stevens and Chris Pronger, passing along the wisdom he'd gained over decades in the league. His influence on the game extends beyond individual players. Robinson helped define what the modern two-way defenseman looks like. His combination of size, skill, and hockey intelligence became a template that countless defensemen have tried to copy. He showed that big defensemen could be mobile and creative, not just enforcers. In 2017, Robinson took on his current role as senior consultant to hockey operations with the St. Louis Blues. When the Blues won the Stanley Cup in 2019, Robinson earned his 10th championship, his 4th different role across 3 organizations. 6 cups as a player with Montreal, 2 as an assistant coach with New Jersey, 1 as a head coach with New Jersey, and 1 as a consultant with St. Louis. That 10th Stanley Cup victory was the perfect capstone to an incredible career. At 68 years old, Robinson proved he still had value in hockey's front office. His experience and knowledge remained assets that championship teams wanted. The Montreal Canadiens retired Robinson's number 19 jersey on November 19, 2007. The ceremony honored not just his individual accomplishments, but his role in the team's dynasty years. Seeing his number in the rafters alongside other Montreal legends was emotional for Robinson, especially given his regret about leaving the team. Today, at almost 75 years old, Larry Robinson remains connected to hockey through his role with the Blues. He's found the perfect balance, staying involved in the sport he loves without the day-to-day stress that forced him to step back from coaching. His tragic departure from Montreal, which caused him so much regret, looks different now. That move to Los Angeles was part of a journey that ultimately led to 10 Stanley Cup championships in 4 different roles. Robinson's life wasn't tragic at all. It was triumphant. He evolved from Big Bird, the intimidating defenseman, to Robinson, the teacher and mentor. His impact on hockey spans 5 decades and continues today. The farm boy from Ontario who accidentally became a defenseman ended up changing how the position is played. Few people in hockey history can match Robinson's combination of individual excellence and team success. His name is on the Stanley Cup 10 times, more than some entire franchises can claim. At almost 75, he's still sharing his knowledge with a new generation of players and executives. The next time someone mentions the greatest defenseman in NHL history, Larry Robinson's name belongs in that conversation. Big Bird may have left Montreal with regret, but he built a legacy that any hockey player would envy.